Good evening, folks, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well this evening. Let's see who we have on tonight. We have Nico. Great to see you, Nico. We have Colin is here. Leslie, great to see you. Hi from Scotland. Hope you're well up there in Scotland. We have Alistair Kerr. Great to have you on, Alistair. Hope you're well tonight. We have King Muffin and Joe Cake once again together. Is it a tag team? We have, and I love muffins and I love cake. That's my weakness. We have Raven1983 Witch. Great to see you. We have Northlinger. Great to have you on. Artie Bus is here. Stu, great to see you. Hope you're well. Good to see you once again. We have Colin. Hope you're well, Colin. John O'Sullivan is here. A McC is here too. Who else have we got? Enzo the God. Great to see you once again, Enzo. Hope you're well. We have Killer. Thanks for moderating, Killer. Great to see you. Hope you're well tonight. Wolf Pet is here. We have Chatty Rat. Young Ralph is on too. Great to see you. Ash to Dash. Great to see you. Hope you're well. I is on as well. Eye of the Tiger. We have Fearless Wolf. Great to see you, Fearless Wolf. Hope you're well. Hugh is here. We also have West G. Eric is on. Rumen 13 is great to see you. Hope you're well. Freckle Pony is great to see you. Freckle Pony is on as well. Great to see you. Who else have we got? We have Jim is here. Mark is here. FSM is the dog. FSM certainly is the dog. We also have Rude. And so many more. Hope you're all very well. I can't say hello to everyone. We're up to 134 viewers. Remember, guys, to smash the like button. It helps the stream. Do you know the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man? The Muffin Man. I'm also a big fan of The Simpsons. Thanks so much, Fearless. Who is the Muffin Man? Is it Boris Johnson? Thanks very much, Fearless, and I love muffins. So we have a few things to talk about tonight. We have cost of living, we have Jeremy Corbyn, immigration, and the economy. We start off with what happened today with Jeremy Corbyn. It says here, Jeremy Corbyn has given his strongest hint yet that he will stand as an independent candidate, saying that he has no intention of stopping the fight to represent his North London constituents. It's 2-star. Thanks so much, FSM. Yes, it's I think the takeover from Starmer, the exit of Jeremy Corbyn has all been pretty horrible for the Labour Party, and the election loss, the infighting, and I've said this before. You know, whether it's the SNP, whether it's the Labour Party, whoever the leader is, you have to get behind the leader. If they lose the election, then you move on to a new leader, and then you have to get behind that leader as well. And I think when Jeremy Corbyn was leader, the knives were out for him, and now that Keir Starmer is leader, the knives are out for him. And you know, rightly or wrongly, what it does is it divides the party, and it helps the Tories in a sense. The former party leader was on Tuesday formally blocked from standing for Labour at the next election, prompting left-wingers to fiercely criticise Keir Starmer's authoritarian and divisive move. Corbyn is unable to put himself forward for selection in his Islington North constituency. Labour Party, where he has a solid support base because the party's National Executive Committee signs off on all candidate lists. Yeah, he's going to win the seat, okay, even if he stands as an independent. And I think the Labour Party, whoever they put up there, is someone expecting to lose. Okay, they're not going to win the seat. Whoever Labour put in there, they're going to lose the seat. So they're not going to win the election, I should say. So Jeremy Corbyn is a shoo-in for Islington North. He's really popular in the constituency. He does a lot of work there. He's well liked, and he's going to win the seat. Will it make any difference to the Labour Party? That's the question, and it probably won't. It's I think the Labour Party have, to a certain, the executive, the head honchos within the Labour Party have distanced themselves from Corbyn for a long time now, and I don't know what Jeremy Corbyn can do outside the Labour Party. So I think there is a feeling within the party itself that we move on from Jeremy Corbyn, move on from 2019, and he'll still have his supporters, but it's not going to really make any difference. It's irrelevant if he was a Brexiteer. He wasn't, by the way. His past was one where he didn't like EU hegemony, and thus 80s time. He along with Ben, I think, they were two socialists within the Labour Party who were sceptical, to put it mildly, of the European Union. They saw it as a neoliberal entity or exercise. Gareth, thanks so much for that super chat. Just wondering, really unrelated to what's ordinarily discussed, I know. Have you heard about Prince Andrew planning to publish his memoirs? What? Oh my God. Everyone is publishing a book now, is it? You had Harry with Spare, and now you have Prince Andrew. What will Prince Andrew's book be called? Why I Like Pizza, is it, or something like that? My favorite pizza. God, yeah, no, I that's news to me. Thanks so much, Gareth, and thanks for the super chat. Thanks for the news. Oh God, what is it going to contain? It's not like he needs the money. It's sticking with this for a moment. It says he released a statement hours after the NEC backed Starmer's motion to block him from standing as a party candidate with 22 votes to 12. The NEC's decision to block my candidacy for Islington North is a shameful attack on party democracy, party members and natural justice, Corbyn said. Now more than ever, we should be offering a bold alternative to the government's programme of poverty, division and repression. Keir Starmer has instead launched an assault on the rights of his own Labour members, breaking his pledge to build a united and democratic party that advances social, economic and climate justice. I will not be intimidated into silence. I have spent my life fighting for a fairer society on behalf of the people of Islington North, and I have no intention of stopping now. Once again, is it going to make any difference? Probably not. There could be a time in the future where Corbyn is welcomed back into the Labour Party, but I think you would need to see, it would have to be after Starmer is gone. So if Starmer wins the next election, probably likely to win it, calls for Starmer to allow Jeremy Corbyn back in, I think would be very, very remote. So back to Prince Andrew's book title, 8.5. Smell no pizza, see no evil, hear no advice, Andy's tactics, and autobiography. Ghostwriters, WhatsApp coming soon. Yes. I do get annoyed with Owen Jones and his acolytes because they're forever complaining about Starmer and must love the opposition. To become electable Labour, Corbyn was a disaster. See, Starmer's focus, it's like, I'm trying to be as kind to Jeremy Corbyn and to be as neutral as possible here. But if you're looking at it from a political... So I think it's very important to separate internal politics from external politics. So the internal politics, Starmer stabbed Jeremy Corbyn in the back. He broke his pledges. He broke his promises. He said he would do X, Y, and Z, and he didn't do that. He went in the opposite direction. Now, this is internal politics. The public don't care about that. The voters don't care about Jeremy Corbyn or what happened within the Labour Party or what Starmer has done within the Labour Party. This is just a fact. The public are concerned about things like cost of living, jobs, NHS, things like that. And they're looking at the it all been run into the ground by the Tories, and they would like somebody to fix it. And I think this is what Starmer is doing. Starmer is saying, okay, I'm jettisoning people connected to the 2019 loss, including Jeremy Corbyn. And of course, the official reason is related to anti-Semitism. But Starmer, it seems, said that it was related to the 2019 loss. So there's either somebody's lying there. I don't know who, but the thing is, when it comes to winning elections, 2019 was a failure. So Starmer needs to present to the public. I'm not talking about internal politics. I'm talking about external. Starmer needs to present an alternative, and the alternative is we're running to the centre, not to the left. Jeremy Corbyn is no longer a member of the party, or no longer an MP, I should say. And our politics is completely different, because I don't know how much it was true or not, but I don't know how much it was true, but there was a belief that Jeremy Corbyn was a lot to blame for the loss in 2019. So a lot of people did not vote. People within the red wall said, "Oh, no, I'm not voting for Jeremy Corbyn because of the baggage he has." Because things about the IRA and stuff like that, which is not true, but the public have been drip-fed. They have been poisoned. Their minds have been poisoned over the last number of years. Since the time when Jeremy Corbyn took over, the public were primed to be against him. And it's very difficult to fight the Daily Mail, the Sun, the Express, and the Telegraph. So you start off in a very difficult position, and it's very difficult to claw back from that. And look, and I was critical of Jeremy Corbyn at the time as well, because he refused to do interviews. There were possibilities where he could have gone on TV and explained his positions. He refused, as far as I know, he refused to do an interview with James O'Brien. He did eventually do some interviews, and they didn't go very well. He came across as, angry, but not angry with the state of the country, but angry that he was being asked questions. And, this doesn't help your image. And image is so important. Unfortunately, image is important. I said at the time, and I continue to say that today, it should be policies. Labour's policies were wonderful. People should have been voting on the policies. But people were voting according to their opinion of Jeremy Corbyn, unfortunately. And I think this is what Starmer wants to do. He wants to go in the opposite direction. So he wants to present himself as some sort of Blairite or neo-Blair figure, more centrist, tough on crime, stuff like this. Look, I don't agree with these policies. But the alternative is what? The Conservatives. And as I said before, this is a referendum on the incumbent. People are asking themselves, do we want more of the Tories? And obviously they're saying no, because Labour are leading in the polls by a huge margin as well. Colin Baker, thanks so much for that super chat. Don't forget that Diane Abbott called Corbyn a Brexiteer at heart. His contribution to our departure from the EU is often overlooked. Yes, so I covered that in a video some months back, where Diane Abbott, yes, says that he's a Brexiteer at heart. I think there was a real feeling within the Remain movement that Jeremy Corbyn was not on board, that he was paying lip service, and I think there were marches that he didn't attend. And there was, I think this is one of the reasons that people got the feeling that he was a Brexiteer. He didn't really care. Now, the thing is, he's not come out and said and given a clear answer to whether he supports the current form of Brexit or he supported leaving the EU in the first place. Because the thing is, we are left to fill in the gaps. That's the problem. It shouldn't be a case where the public fill in the gaps for the politician. The politician should be transparent and say, this is what I believe and why. But that was a problem, I think, with Jeremy Corbyn. Gareth, thanks so much for that super chat. Prince William, Herr Prince Harry, spare Prince Andrew. Get those forking children out here. Oh my god. Oh my goodness, yes. FSM is the dog, thanks so much for that super chat. Miliband lost worse than Corbyn. Yes. And the reaction within the party was different. But did Miliband worse? Wasn't it the worst result since 1935 in 2019? I thought. I know that Miliband lost, and a big problem for Labour at the time was they were supporting austerity. So they deserved a thrashing. Whether it was better to have the Tories who were actually implementing austerity was another idea. But I still back the idea that if Jeremy Corbyn was in charge, you have to unite behind him. You can't be stabbing him in the back until he's Prime Minister, at least. And the same has to be with Starmer. Unfortunately, you have to put your differences aside and say, okay, who do we want more of the Tories? No, that has to be the goal, to get the Tories out, and then influence Starmer from within. It may be practically impossible, but you have a better chance of getting better policies under a Labour government than you do under the Conservatives. And if you're not a member of the Conservatives, there's nothing you can do about it. But if you're a member of the Labour Party, you have a bit of influence. More influence than if the Tories are in charge. It's not a huge it's not, there's maybe I'm sugarcoating it a bit too much, but the alternative is the Tories, unfortunately. Freckle Pony, thanks so much for that super chat. Encouraged by Labour, Arthur Scargill decided to stand against Corbyn as a surprise candidate. A clear case of be careful what you wish for. Yeah, he didn't understand the popularity that Corbyn has. He has a massive following, and I think he's going to remain an MP until he retires. He's going to remain an MP for another number of elections because he's extremely popular there. But I think his influence is going to wane, and it has been waning since he left the leadership role. But I think his influence is going to wane for the foreseeable future. It's going to continue to wane away until he has no influence whatsoever. And if Starmer is successful, if he wins 2 elections, it's going to be very difficult for the left of the left within the Labour Party. Thanks so much for that super chat. The rewriting of history continues, but as far as I know, it was the worst election result since 1935. FSM. Anyway, let's move on. This was a report from Sky News about Jeremy Corbyn.
Look, there's no question this is a huge moment for the Labour Party. Jeremy Corbyn has been a Labour MP for 40 years. He is a former leader. Just a few years ago, Sir Keir Starmer was calling him a friend. He campaigned for him to be Prime Minister. Well, now they are severing ties, saying he's not even fit to stand for the party at the next general election. So a big moment. In the end, the motion passed reasonably easily here at Labour's headquarters. It was the NEC, the ruling body, that voted on it. In the end, it was 22-12. There were some Jeremy Corbyn backers in the room, some of the unions, Momentum, of course. So now this is rubber stamped, it's signed off, this is party policy. Jeremy Corbyn will not stand at the next general election. It'd be interesting to see, of course, how he responds. Will he run as an independent? Will he try to challenge this in some way, maybe in the courts, if that's possible? These are questions that I did put to him yesterday. We saw him outside Parliament. He was speaking at an event in Parliament Square. This is what he said then.
Thanks, Stanley Beckett. Max, it was the worst in 2019 on seats, not percentage of votes. But it's the seats that are important. It's a bit like, in the US when we say that Hillary won the popular vote back in 2016, but Trump won the Electoral College. But it's the Electoral College that matters. It's not the popular vote. And, you have the Labour Party, the Green Party, who win about 1 million votes, and they end up with 1 seat. So it's not the percentages that matter, it's the number of seats.
Can we just very quickly ask you if you're thinking of standing as an independent, Mr Corbyn?
Thank you very much. I'm going to the demonstration against the immigration bill, and I suggest you report that too.
We are reporting it.
Well, good.
It will take 10 seconds.
You can come and listen to what I have to say.
Can I just ask you for...
I look forward to seeing you over there. Thank you very much.
I just want to talk to you for 10 seconds about your future as a Labour MP.
Thank you very much.
We're not offering any more comment.
Look, he received a lot of criticism online about this. Oh, he's a nasty guy. Look, I can imagine he walked like less than a mile and he was hounded by journalists all the way there. So, cut him a bit of slack there. But it's, the news now is that, yes, he will stand as an independent. None of this is good for the Labour Party in the long term. Starmer will win. Jeremy Corbyn will be left on the sideline. He'll be an independent, but he'll have no influence really. And he can't have influence within the Labour Party because the MPs will be supporting an independent and not their own party. So I think that's going to be, bad. Okay, let's move on. I want to move on to this story from earlier today. It says here, Environment Secretary Therese Coffey attacks farmers weekly, suggesting it's biased. Therese Coffey, is she the worst member of Parliament? The worst ever. There's stiff competition. There's Jonathan Gullis. There's Sir Edward Lee. There's Sir Desmond Swayne. What's the other guy? The other hooligan. Tom Hunt. People like that. Is Therese Coffey the worst? I think she's well up there in the top 5 anyway. There were extraordinary scenes in the House of Commons, in the Commons Environment Committee earlier, where Therese Coffey, the Environment Secretary, was being grilled by MPs. Despite representing farmers, she said, "I'm not going to pretend to read the editorials in Farmers Weekly." When asked by Sir Robert Goodwill if she had read an editorial which referred to her appearance as a NFU conference as a car crash, she said this because I'm into information and facts. Do you remember that, where she appeared on stage with the head of the NFU and she was saying, you need to get used to being small and stuff like this. And she dismissed the shortages. She also launched a scathing attack on the author of the piece, Farmers Weekly editor Andrew Meredith, accusing him of voting Liberal Democrat for a decade before joining Labour. This is false. Meredith, a fine journalist incidentally, tells me that he has never been a member of a political party and seemed rather baffled by the personal attack. Yeah, it's always good to attack the journalists. If you're a minister, we on the outside can attack the journalists, but it's not good if a minister does that. Liberal Democrat environment spokesperson Tim Farron defended Meredith, notwithstanding his denial of ever supporting the party. He told me, comments like these demonstrate the hostility of the Conservative government towards farmers just trying to get by. And this is the farmers are the ones who are a sort of locked in vote for the Conservatives. You wonder why after Brexit, but many of them voted for Brexit. Many of them still vote Conservative. But, here you have Therese Coffey slapping them in the face. Magic, thanks much for that super chat. In the 2019 general election, there were 38,264 votes for every Tory MP elected, 50,836 for every Labour MP, 25,000 for every SNP MP and 865,715 for every Green. How is that fair? Like, compare the Tories to the Greens. 38,000 compared to 800,000. You know, you wonder why the Greens have only one MP in the House of Commons. That's why. Because their vote is so spread out all over the country. Thanks, Magic. Magic the master. Magic knows everything, especially when it comes to politics. Coffee is the worst human being in the UK, Max. She never turned up at a women's select committee meeting. Carol Volderman, name her in it. Yeah, no, I don't know if that was Therese Coffey. It could have been what's her name? I forget what her name is. A minister, the women's minister, who was like drinking tea or something at the time. But but yeah, she's a horrible individual. I'm not attacking her appearance. That's irrelevant. I'm talking about her character. It's a horrible person. Just really demeaning towards to the public, to farmers here. Condescending when she's asked questions. You know, does she have any redeeming features at all? Coffey also refused to respond to comments by Tesco CEO John Allen about food suppliers profiteering post-pandemic, claiming not to have read or seen the remarks which were aired on the Laura Kunsberg show. Additionally, she rejected the committee's recommendation that she release an annual food security report because it takes a considerable amount of time. Remember when she was grilled by Caroline Lucas from the Green Party about pollution, and she's like, "Oh, that's the mayor of London's job." Okay, well, the mayor would like to have more powers if you're telling him to do these jobs that you're supposed to be doing. And she's like, "Oh, he always wants more power." Okay, well then give him the power. No, we don't want to give him power. So once again, what is the point of Therese Coffey? Why is she there? What good does she do? Nothing. How dare you ask me a question? Yes. How dare you ask me questions? 93% profiteering. Of course there was profiteering going on. We saw also when it came to certain supermarket chains, they were increasing the prices of their value brands. The price of value brands went through the roof. The percentage increase went through the roof. Moving on. Prime Minister says the economy will return to growth by the end of the year. Rishi Sunak making promises that he can't keep.
The OBR is forecasting the economy won't grow this year. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that we'll see a growing economy against your objective this year?
I said the economy is forecast to return to growth by the end of the year, which is what...
Who? The OBR has said that it won't, and Rishi Sunak is saying that it will. And Rishi Sunak, well, is he going to present some evidence?
I talked about when I made the speech at the beginning of the year, and I think the measures in the Chancellor's budget will help drive long-term growth.
So it's a belief. It's not. There's no evidence to back it up. So all you have to do is believe that the economy will grow, and the economy will grow. That's how it works. Is this like Brexit? You know, if you believe in Brexit, it will succeed.
Particularly the policy to move towards full expensing over time and immediately temporarily for the next 3 years. If you look at the productivity gap between the UK and some of our major competitors like France and Germany, it's a lack of business investment that explains about half of that productivity gap. We've perennially been an economy that underinvests in capital relative.
Why? Why is there a lack of investment? Like this guy is a Brexiteer saying, "Oh yeah, there's a lack of investment." Wonder why.
To almost all our major peers, but with the Chancellor's full expensing policy, we will now be the most attractive place for companies to make those investments.
What planet is he living on? So we've put up barriers to trade. We've suffered a lack of investment as a result of that as well. And his response is, yeah, well, we believe that we will return to growth. And we are a place that welcomes investment. Although we haven't invested, we haven't saw a massive amount of investment, but we will in the future. Why? Because I believe it, and Jeremy Hunt believes it.
And I think that is something that will ultimately drive up our long-term growth. I was very pleased that in the survey of about 3,000 or 4,000 CEOs from over 100 countries that PwC did recently, they ranked the UK as the #1 European destination for investment and the third globally, behind only the US.
I haven't seen this report. I'd like to look into this report. I've heard about this report, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Why would? Is it about tax? Like, because if is it based on some sort of if? Well, if we reduce corporation tax, will you come here? But I don't see how it can be the #1 investment place for to attract investment if there are barriers to trade. There are no barriers to trade between France and Germany. There are barriers to trade between Britain and the European Union. Gareth, thanks so much for that super chat. Rishi Sunak saying the economy will grow is about as Monica saying as me saying I'm 10 feet tall, I look like Brad Pitt, and I ride unicorns 24/7. Which of those statements is not true? Because I believe one of them, at least one of them, is true. One of them is false, and two of them are true. Which one is it? Thanks so much, Gareth. Believe, behave, belong. It's like a religion, I believe. Yes, really. Religion or cult? Which is it? It's like Sunak's living in a parallel world to the rest of us. He is, but I don't know if he actually believes this. He's just saying it. I have to convince the public that Brexit is a success. If I continue to say it enough, maybe some people will believe it, even though reality is the opposite. But really, I don't. Okay, guys, I want to move on to another story here.
This is the first
about the SNP. So the SNP have decided on a new leader. Humza Yousaf is the new, and he will become the first minister of Scotland. But one of the candidates, Kate Forbes, who was expected to join his cabinet, has rejected the position.
Explosive moment of the Humza Yousaf premiership here in Scotland. That news in the last few minutes that Kate Forbes, his main leadership rival in that very bitter contest to replace Nicola Sturgeon, has rejected a demotion within his newly formed cabinet, a cabinet that is still being put together and shaped as we speak. We understand that Kate Forbes was offered the demotion from Finance Secretary in charge of Scotland's economy to the reduced position of Rural Affairs Secretary. That was something we're told.
So why did that happen? Well, probably because he wanted people who were close to him, allies. He wanted his allies close to him, not his enemies. So I imagine that's what he did. He was, he had people around him, and he needed to hand out some sweeties. So somebody who's been probably supporting him for a long time is probably going to be made finance secretary. And it makes sense because, it would be a bit weird putting her back into the same position, especially as they were rivals. And perhaps he thought, well, I'll give her a junior position within the government, and that will keep her quiet, but obviously not. I think the SNP, and I've said this before, the SNP is going to have a bit of a rocky future in the short term. I hope they're able to resolve it, because, Nicola Sturgeon left a massive vacuum. And I don't know if the new leader can fill that vacuum. And the party is quite split. Not just because of Nicola Sturgeon leaving, but because of the policies that came before her departure. Richard Turner, thanks so much for that super chat. When it comes to investment, the proof is in the pudding. You can say in a poll, yes, the UK will be okay, but then go and build it in Germany. Tesla, for example. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, when was this poll conducted, and who said yes and no to it? Because it'd be great to know who these companies are, these business leaders, so we could actually find out if they're actually going to invest in the UK, as you pointed out here, Richard. Yes, if they can say, yeah, we'll definitely go to Britain. Thanks for the thanks for the wine and cheese. Yeah, I'll definitely come to Britain. And then leave and go somewhere else. But Tesla was a prime example of that. It was meant to be a big win, post-Brexit win for the UK, and they built the Gigafactory in Germany, and it's creating lots of jobs and money for the local economy there. Voted in its first minister, Max, getting sworn in tomorrow. That's great.
She swiftly declined. She has resigned from the Scottish Government and will return to the backbenches.
Thanks so much, Alistair.
There is no doubt this is a huge blow for Humza Yousaf and does not go...
No, I don't think so, because you're saying this is a huge blow for him. No, not really. Because, yeah, she rejected the junior position. But what was he supposed to do? If he put her in a senior position and there were people around him who had been supporting him, like, I think it was a good idea to offer her a position in the first place, offer her a job. But she was his opponent, and there would be people who would be in line for a senior position in his cabinet, and they would have been hopped over by her, and that would have created bad sentiment within his cabinet. So, oh, you're just giving her a job because she was high profile. What about me, who has been supporting you for a long time? And loyalty is key to any leader. Yeah, would she be loyal? Of course she wouldn't.
A great deal towards healing those rifts that have been endured for the SNP over the course of the last couple of weeks. It was a really tough, bitter contest between Humza Yousaf and Kate Forbes. Let's remember, tens of thousands of SNP supporters voted for Kate Forbes during that contest. She got 48% of the vote overall, and it was one of the big tasks for Humza Yousaf. How will he reunite that party and bring Kate Forbes into the fold? Well, tonight we know that is not happening, and that will be a big moment for the thousands of SNP supporters who did back that moment for change. They said continuity will not cut it. And tonight Kate Forbes is gone. This has been a day of procedure here at Holyrood, with Humza Yousaf formally being voted in as the next First Minister. A surreal moment watching his predecessor, Nicola Sturgeon, sitting on those back benches in this building behind me. And here's a flavour of what he had to say in that victory speech.
After 9/11, we're not easy for Muslims growing up in Scotland or indeed across the UK. I've lost count of how many times my identity, my loyalty to Scotland, the only country I have ever and will ever call home, has been questioned over the years. There was a time not all that long ago when I felt I simply did not belong here in Scotland. To go from there to now leading the government as Scotland's 6th First Minister, I hope sends a strong message to every single person out there who feels that they don't belong. And as First Minister, I will always fight for your rights, and where possible, I will do everything I can to advance them.
A good speech.
Significant policy issues for Humza Yousaf, who we just watched giving that speech. How will he tackle the quandary of independence, furthering that cause that Nicola Sturgeon has not done during the course of her more than 3,000 days in office? It's understood Mr Yousaf will be speaking to the Prime Minister in the coming hours.
Yeah, and well, this is from a few hours ago, and it was 2 hours ago, but he asked for Section 30 and the Tories said no. It's a union of equals, but it's Hotel California. Yeah, I think his biggest task going forward is to unite the party, But I think he has to say to the party, bring the members in and say, okay, a lot of you didn't vote for me, a lot of you are angry with me, a lot of you are disappointed with me, but what is our goal? Our goal is independence. And in the same way that Starmer has to unite his party, there has to be a goal. For Starmer, getting the Tories out. For the SNP, it has to be independence. So and unfortunately, I've seen a lot of people on social media not very happy with the new SNP leader. But you backed your candidate lost. What is the point in being angry about that still? What you need to do is say, okay, we're not happy with the leader, but we have to back him because he's the only show in town. I really don't get this, why people are angry about, when it came to, I'm not in the US, but, I had hoped that Jeremy Corbyn, Bernie Sanders, slip of the tongue there, Bernie Sanders would have become the Democratic candidate. And some people were saying that, oh, well, if he had become candidate, he wouldn't have won. No, it was a vote on whether you like Donald Trump or not. And it's congratulations to Hamza, worthy winner. Thanks so much, Random Scottish History, and I agree. I think, look, all of the candidates were weak in comparison to Nicola Sturgeon. Nicola had set the bar so high, I don't think any of them could have reached it. That's where it's going to be really difficult for him going forward. That's why he needs to unite the party ASAP. Have a meeting with members. Go around the country, meeting with councillors and members of the party everywhere, and try and explain to them, whether you like me or not, I'm in charge, and we have to focus on independence. If we unite, we can achieve it. Alistair, thanks so much for that super chat. Albatraz, Max Albatraz, or Alpatraz, which is it, Alba or Alpa? It's. I hate the super chat setup that took me nearly 7 minutes. No, I'm so sorry, Random Scottish History. You could have written it in the chat anyway, the normal chat. Homes and Poverty Pay went to school together. Who's Poverty Pay? Not sure who Poverty Pay is. I know. For the pundits and for the political commentators, this is wonderful. Yeah, division within the party. Putting one against the other. But there has to be a goal, and the goal, they have to unite behind the leader at this stage. And I said, when it came to 2019, the Labour Party should have been backing, fully supporting Jeremy Corbyn. But I want to get back to Bernie Sanders for a moment. I wanted Bernie Sanders to become the candidate for the Democrats. He didn't succeed. But you know what Bernie Sanders did? He didn't go around complaining. He didn't say, oh, I was tricked out. I was, it was stolen from me or anything like that. Bernie Sanders threw all of his support behind Joe Biden. And he actually met with Joe Biden, and he said, look, try and push for these policies. I'm going to support you either way. He got a lot of criticism for that. But, he understood there are bigger things than me at play here. And I think it's important. And of course he got complaints from people on the left who say, he sold out. He should have run as an independent. What would that have done? It would have resulted in Trump winning. So, the prize, you have to focus on what is the eye on the prize, as Indy Truck Davies says. You have to focus on what the goal is, and if you're not focusing on that, you're helping the opposition, your opposition. Alistair, thanks so much for that super chat. Scottish Labour leader Max. Okay, what was he called? Poverty Pay. Isn't he a millionaire or something? Derek, thanks so much for that super chat. Evening all. I was late again, but that's me caught up live. Hope everyone's doing well. Doing very well here, Derek. Great to see you on. Thanks for the support. We have also Gareth once again, and Sanders give us all quality memes. Yes, I love those memes. How I think he was interviewed about that. He was like, well, what's your opinion of... He just started laughing. I loved Bernie Sanders because he's a good politician. He has his faults, of course, but he seems like a really nice guy as well. He's somebody who cares about social justice. He was campaigning for things when they were not popular. He was marching for gay rights back in the 1970s. Okay. This is somebody who's been on the right side of history every time, and not just jumping on board when it became politically beneficial to him, like many others. My only criticism of Bernie is that maybe he sometimes appeared weak. He could have stood up to people. I remember there was a group of people who took his microphone from him, pushed him off the stage, and it really, he had won that platform. He had every right to speak at that platform, and these idiots basically came along and pushed him off the stage. Anyway, moving on. No, I want to talk a little bit about Brexit first. Actually, we're about halfway through the stream, so maybe we'll take a short break, comedy moment, and we'll be back in just a jiffy with more serious stuff. Hope you enjoy this.
Colin from Portsmouth is on the line. Hello, Colin.
Disgusted, Anthony. Absolutely disgusted with what Elon Musk has done to Twitter.
Well, I didn't know you were on Twitter, Colin.
Oh, I go on to see what people like me are thinking so that I can think the same thing. But it's gone massively downhill since that bloke took over.
I thought you'd be in your element, Colin, with this new Twitter.
Everyone on there agrees with me now. It's terrible.
Right.
I post something provocative that I haven't thought through and don't believe anyway, and instead of people pointing out that I'm a bigot, I get a load of morons nodding their heads. What kind of social media platform's that?
But isn't it about owning the libs, Colin?
But once you've owned them and they've left to masturbate or whatever
Mastodon.
it is...
Mastodon.
Yeah, whatever. Then you've got nothing more to eat, have you? If you don't grow wheat, Anthony, you don't have bread in the winter. And what Elon Musk has done has bought $44 billion worth of Hovis White Sliced and said, here you are, lads, stick that in the fridge, and when it's gone, it's gone.
Who puts bread in the fridge?
I am begging you, Musk, put Twitter back to how it was. If I wanted to hear people that agreed with me, I'd stay at my local.
Oh, you're banned from your local.
Also begging you, Elon Musk, unban me from my local.
Yeah.
Anyway, Anthony, thanks for having me on. Love to the family.
Love to the family, Colin. Love to the family.
I like Sam Bapp 69, though. She can stay.
Yeah, I think she might be a porn bot, Colin.
That's a shame. We've had some lovely chats.
Okay. Interesting. Joining CPTPP will not deliver any real economic gains. Oh no! Remember how all the Brexiteers are saying we need to join CPTPP because Liz Truss in particular was pushing it for a long time. Well, it says here, according to Yorkshire Byline, we are about to learn that Britain has received broad agreement. Oh, I'll get rid of this thing. Broad agreement with a group of Pacific Rim countries and will soon join the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, which is, according to a recent report by the FT. Its impact is likely to be somewhat between zero and inconsequential for most of us. The FT's trade correspondent says, likened it to decibel points by a cat sneezing 3 rooms away. Okay, and that it may well be an exaggeration. The final deal could be announced as soon as next month when CPTPP officials meet in Auckland, and others suggest it may not be until July. What is CPTPP? A parliamentary research briefing explains that CPTPP is a free trade agreement between 11 Pacific countries facing countries that emerged from negotiations for a Trans-Pacific Partnership originally including the US as well. What the briefing didn't say is that Donald Trump, as one of the first acts in office, withdrew from the talks, calling the TPP a disaster and a rape of the American people. Yes, that's sort of a language. He claimed that the agreement would not only undermine our economy, but it would undermine our independence. The move was not a partisan move. Bernie Sanders, left-wing Democratic presidential candidate, was fully behind it, following intense lobbying by groups like the Coalition for Prosperous America, claiming the deal's 5,500 pages erodes sovereignty and delves deeply into the domestic laws of the US. One signatory is New Zealand, but not everyone there is behind it. Opponents of the agreement claim New Zealand is now ruled by a TPP federal government and says the treaty is binding on member nations, overriding the domestic laws and constitutions of individual countries. What Sir Bill Cash and his band of sovereignty worshippers will make of it is not known. So it doesn't sound like it's a very good idea. New Zealand is not too happy with it. The US was not too happy about it. The EU has trade deals, deals everyone except Australia in CPTPP. Bernie also challenged Thatcher over her Northern Ireland policy. I didn't see that, Gareth, but I will check it out. Thanks so much, Gareth. But it's not something it seems to be something valuable for the United Kingdom. But also it's about Pacific countries. So what the hell is the UK dealing with these countries in wanting to join this agreement? Well, I think as like the New Zealand trade deal or the Australia trade deal or Japanese trade deal, it's about selling something to the public. Are South Korea in the CPTPP? I don't think so. How much is the deal worth? The UK already has trade agreements with 9 members: Australia, Canada, Chile, Japan, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore and Vietnam. The new ones are Brunei and Malaysia. So in monetary terms, a cession does not even rise to the level of a small beer. The government's document from April 2021, setting out its strategic approach to a cession, puts the increase in exports to current CPTPP members at 1.7 billion in the long run, taken as 15 years. So it takes 15 years to get to 1.7 billion. Now 1.7 billion might sound like a lot, but in 15 years, somebody can do the maths for us. Yeah, so it's not really, and you, of course, with a trade deal or something like this, a trade agreement, you give up something. So what would the UK be giving up in order to get 1.7 billion in 15 years? Are you sure, Max, it's not TCP? Maybe. Yes. I just wanted to cover that quickly and move on. Yeah, I want to show you. This is a video you'll probably see tomorrow, but I wanted to show it to you today anyway. Northern Ireland is a very... Stop saying PP, Max. My bladder ain't what it used to be. Thanks so much, Ruth. I'm sorry. Well, I hope you're not too far away from a bathroom, because this is quite a funny story. Northern Ireland. There's a small village called Tobermore, which is in Irish, which is actually the origin of the name is Irish, which means deep well or a big well. And what happened was the council put up a sign, and it was torn down or torn up. Well, let's get into the story.
Language sign didn't last long here. Now there's just a hole in the ground where it had been erected, and bewilderment among the predominantly unionist community here.
This is a unionist village, and the people in here are British people, and to be honest, they are unionists, and they don't condone the Irish language. They don't
condone the Irish language. What does that mean? Can someone tell me what condoning a language means? Condone the language. Condone. Like, why would you use condone in this context? It's a language. Well, it's the DUP talking, of course.
To be honest, they are unionists and they don't condone the Irish language. They don't speak Irish language, nor do they have any interest in it.
How do you know they don't speak the language? How do you know that everyone in this town does not speak the language? Have you gone round door to door? And says, I'd like you to complete a survey. What languages do you speak? Okay, French, German. Do you speak Irish? No. Okay, that's good. Okay, next. Moving to the next house. Heck, what sort of ridiculous response is this?
The sign was erected here last week alongside this housing development and beside playing fields and the children's play area. And people around this neighbourhood are asking why.
Look, people outside Northern Ireland, and look, it's really a Northern Ireland issue, because people in other parts of the world who are watching this or who have just heard about this will be scratching their heads like, sorry, people are angry about a sign because it contains 2 languages. Why would you be angry about a sign containing 2 languages? But this is Northern Ireland. No offence to anyone in Northern Ireland, but if you are in Northern Ireland, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Where generally, the likes of the DUP get very angry over language, flags, no flags, too many flags, too few flags, too many languages, too few languages. Max has said PP so many times that the Tory PP donors are starting to get all hot and excited. Thanks so much, Gareth. I'll have to stop saying PPE or TPPPP. Thanks, Gareth. DUP of the opinion no one speaks Irish on air. Yes. Thanks so much, Magic. The DUP. Oh, the DUP.
Mid-Ulster District Council has a policy on dual-language street names. It states that the provision of dual-language street names will normally only be considered in the case of existing streets where the council has been petitioned and or consulted with the occupiers of premises in that street.
I was shocked to find out we, as a community here in Tubbamo, weren't informed of any such sign going up. But to find that the sign was up with the Irish language and the English language, and the Irish language was head of the sign, and our British spoken language was at the bottom.
British spoken language. British spoken language. Okay, first of all, is Northern Ireland British? Because Britain is England, Scotland, and Wales. So, can you call it part of Britain? It's not part of Britain. It's part of the United Kingdom. You would, like, if you wanted to say our UK language, but okay, but maybe I'm splitting hairs here. But British language. Does she not understand that Gaelic, which is a version of Irish, or Irish is a version of Gaelic, I should say, the root Gaelic is spoken also in Scotland, and the Scottish government have Gaelic and English on their website, on official documents. So, if she wants to argue that Gaelic is not British because she's in Northern Ireland, that's a pile of crap, because Gaelic exists in Scotland. Like the same with Welsh. Is she against Welsh being spoken in Wales? Is she against Gaelic being spoken in Scotland or being used? No, just in Northern Ireland. Why? Because it's the bad guys. It's the bad guys who speak that language. The IRA, they're the ones who speak that language. We don't want anything to do with them. DUP member ripped it up to the DUP. So DUP, yes. It's probably a member of the DUP. I don't know if a member of the DUP ripped it up. Somebody did. Somebody was so offended by a sign that they went out, gave themselves close to a heart attack pulling this thing up. And then I don't know where they went with it, because it's no longer there. It's not like thrown away. They actually put it in their car, soiled their car, and brought it away and threw it somewhere and littered. Why? Because it's a sign. because it contains a foreign language.
Nobody in this community wants Irish language signage. It's not needed either. No one here speaks Irish.
Another expert on people's linguistic skills in the village. It's like, nobody speaks Irish here. How can you make that statement? Like, I live in a small town here, and I don't know what language people speak. I live in a small town here outside Venice. There's about 3,000 people, so it's very small. I know a lot of people in the town, but I could never say that I know that nobody speaks Japanese, because there could be somebody who speaks Japanese, and they don't have to be Japanese to speak Japanese. He knows that there's no one in the town who speaks Irish. Well, if he actually repeated the name of his town, he's sort of speaking Irish himself. Does he understand that? Maybe not.
Anything that we should have done would have been put out in English and Ulster Scots.
We request.
So he's not against languages on signs. It's because of the Irish. So he thinks nobody speaks Irish in the town, but he's sure that people speak Ulster Scots in the town. So the sign should have been in English and Ulster Scots. So the problem is not another language. It's just which language.
Did an interview with a Sinn Féin representative on the council. The party didn't respond.
Why would Sinn Féin respond? It's like, this is stupid. Why should we respond to a stupid idea? The idea that we shouldn't have that someone is offended by a sign with a language on it. Once again, no offence to people in Northern Ireland, but people in Northern Ireland are probably used to this. They're used to this sort of bullshit. But it's like, or maybe people in Scotland would sort of understand it as well. Gareth, thanks so much for that super chat. Well, fuck my flag and call me a Tory. Gratitude. Oh my god, Gareth, damn you. Oh my goodness. Tribal cultures change slowly, very slowly. I'm having a nightmare about wrong spellings tonight. On the island of Ireland, no one in his town speaks Irish. There's an expression. That's pity. Oh my god. They live on the island of Ireland. Irish road signs on the island of Ireland. Shocker. Max, smaller than Killashee. Really? Max is the only Irish. No, I'm not. I remember that skit. What about the green grass sign? Green grass was on it. What about the grass sticking up? Sorry, Max, missed the last hour of the stream, and the wee one's running a fever. I'm sorry to hear that. Hope they're feeling better soon. Gave him some Calpol, and now he's snuggling next to me, listening in. That's great. I hope he's not too young, because we mentioned some not safe for work stuff on the stream tonight.
But unionists who spoke to us here today had a clear message. They don't want the sign back.
We don't want that damn sign. I feel like I would love to interview these people and ask them, show me on the doll where the sign hurts. Oh my goodness. DUP, in Northern Ireland we speak British. Don't forget the flags. They're like cosplayers. You know what a cosplayer is? Somebody who dresses up believing that they are, or pretending that they are something that they're not. And that's what the DUP are. The DUP are English cosplayers. You know that I speak British. Oh my god. Alistair, thank you so much for donating those subscriptions. Welcome aboard to Tim, Thomas, Gerard, Stuart, and Gurr. Great to have you on. There's no Longford man in Italy, he cries. I remember that. That was it. Steve-O. Thanks for that, Gareth. Oh my goodness. Moving on. More serious stuff, away from the madness of the DUP.
I'm trying to look for jobs here and there. I mean, I'm hoping to get into the forces, so then I can, at least have a place to call my own when I'm in there.
If you've got all day, we could list absolutely all the negatives about the current government.
You don't want to stay here. What opportunities are there for young people in the area?
To do something successful, you don't really want to do it in Weymouth.
A lot of people in seaside areas are older. People retire to be in the seaside, don't they? And that's sad, because then all the things that are working in areas like that are for older people. So young people move away, can't afford a house, and all those kind of things. So I don't know how you fix it. Big thinking, I think. Has to be, not little thinking. Got to be big thinking.
Agree 100% with her. So if young people can't buy homes, what needs to happen is there needs to be social housing built and affordable housing built. And over the last number of years, and this is a problem also in Ireland as well, and Irish people on the stream will know about this as well. But there needs to be investing in was that Daniel Radcliffe? It looked like Daniel Radcliffe, yes. But there needs to be investment in both social housing and affordable housing, because it's unfair that young people and every generation, we have this idea that, and parents have this idea that their children are going to have a better life than they had. And I think since Generation Z, it's gone the opposite way. For young people, it's more difficult to get a job. It's more difficult to get a good paying job, a job that gives you satisfaction as well. A lot of young people are looking at the gig economy as a solution. Rents are through the roof, so whatever money you have, a lot of it is going on rent. It's up to 50% in some cases is going on rent. How are people supposed to put something aside and eventually buy a home if that's what they want to do? Many can't even afford rent, and they're moving back in with their parents. And the social problems there, the mental health issues of, having to move in with your parents. Young people, when you get to a certain age, 18, 19, 20, or after university, many people just want to get out of their parents' home. They want freedom. They want to be able to do what they want. I remember when I left home many, many years ago, I remember the freedom. I can come and go as I please. I wasn't under house arrest or anything like that. But the feeling that you could come home when you want, cook something for yourself, eat whatever you want, turn on the TV. I house shared for a long time, but you still had a sense of, this is my space, and I can come and go as I want. No one's actually asking me when are you coming back or where are you going, anything like that. And that's what young people need. They need to be able to get out of their parents' home, to be able to rent a place or to eventually buy a place. But it seems to be more and more difficult, and practically impossible in many cases.
Haven't been here.
And that's why why? Because there's a lack of housing. Supply and demand. Demand is massive. Supply is extremely limited. You need to rebalance that. And you need government to do that. There's no point relying on the private sector. You need government to intervene and start building houses. And, we've all saw the clip of Liz Truss being asked how many houses, it's about 2017, 2018. She was, how many houses have the government built? And she was like, oh, well, we promised to build 200,000. How many have you actually built? 0. I'm not a huge fan of Andrew Neil, but he really owned her arse there. My dad couldn't wait to boot me out. Sorry to hear that, Daily Blizzy. Good to see you on the stream. I come from a seaside community. Employers, hotels, mostly coach parties over 60s, care homes, a supermarket, and lucky me, a lumber mill. House prices, a rich people's obsession.
Very long, but you only have to look around, and the majority by far are people. I thought I was old, but I mean, you're looking at a lot older generation-wise, and all the problems that associate with older age, you know, impairments, etc. Incredible amount of shops just closed up. But then,
and this is why, you know, you need to welcome immigrants, because the native population, for a better choice of terms, they're not having children because they can't afford to have children in many cases. So if people are having fewer children, the population is decreasing. If the population is getting older as well, in order to get some fresh blood into the towns and villages, you need to invite people in, and you can't do that if you have an immigration policy that is, we don't want people coming here, or we want to make it as difficult as possible for people to come here. And they're proud of it. The Tories are proud of how difficult it is for people to come into the country. As the population is getting older, as towns and villages are getting emptied because there are no facilities, no jobs, there's real damage being done on a long term. You know, this isn't something you can flip a switch at the next election and once, we'll get Labour in and then they'll be able to fix all of this. This takes a generation to resolve. Gareth, thanks so much for that super chat. Jokes aside, the Good Friday Agreement specifically legally protects English, Irish and Ulster Scots. There's an entire institution dedicated to the protection of these. Thanks for that, Gareth. So it's not, you know, this whole idea of ripping up signs just doesn't make any sense at all. But it's also, in a sense, illegal because these are protected languages. And this is another thing of the European Union. A lot of the minority languages are protected because they receive funding from the European Union. Now, people may disagree with that. Oh, it's a waste of money. I don't think so. It's part of our heritage. It's part of our identity. And that needs to be protected. And sometimes, you know, it's a few quid can go a long way when we're talking about that. And, you know, why would somebody be against that? I don't know. Thanks so much for that.
I think that's an epidemic across the UK, isn't it? It's not just one.
So if someone described Weymouth to me as having London prices but not London wages, do you think that's an accurate representation of...
I think that's always been accurate, to be perfectly honest. And when some of the bigger companies moved out, probably the wages went with it. So, but they've always been suppressed, yeah.
What do you think would improve Weymouth?
To be honest, I don't think it'll ever change. I still think it'll be a retirement venue for the well-off.
That's really sad. You know, that it's not going to improve. It's just going to become a retirement home for rich elderly people. Want to move on.
If we look at the facts,
show you this interview related to. So this week, the Conservatives have been pushing new policies that they want to get through the House of Commons, new bills where they want to make it easier for landlords in particular to kick people out. And there was a story, I think it was from last year, where a young child died because of mold within his in his parents' flat that was rented, and unfortunately, he died as a result of that. And well, it doesn't seem to be not very little has been done about it, and instead, what the Tories are doing at the moment is making it easier for landlords to kick people out. Why? Well, because it wins votes.
Miss Amin was outside of court and spoken by myself and her solicitor, Kelly Darlington. We spoke about, we used Miss Amin's words. She said, we felt like we weren't treated the same because we were from a different country. And what this report has done is actually validated exactly what they said. There were people actually, and I saw these comments that said, why is race being brought into this? And this report shows that actually, not only is there evidence of othering by Rochdale Bro-Wide Housing, but actually their own staff have said that sometimes they would raise things with managers at RBH, and they would say things along the lines of, well, this mould, you know, the family are actually lucky to even have a house because they're refugees. So it's deeply...
My God. Oh, well, you know, they shouldn't be complaining.
...upsetting and, frankly, deeply worrying, okay?
So they thought that because this family had a roof over their head, that was enough, and it didn't matter whether there was mould, like on the image behind you there.
Well, that's what the Ombudsman report would seem to suggest. And what was particularly concerning when reading that was just the fact that Awab's case was not an anomaly. I received those papers, and I remember thinking, wow, I can't believe things to this extent happen. And the fact that actually, so widely within RBH, this was taking place, potentially still is worrying. And at the inquest was in December of last year, and at that point, 80% of properties owned by RBH still had mould in them. Awab died 2 years prior to that, so it's deeply upsetting.
What's the situation with the family now?
The family are still struggling, of course, because of the magnitude of the loss. However, they are deeply warned by the public's support. Michael Gove's now committed to an Awab's law, which will set time limits, ensuring that landlords should fix issues of damp and mould within certain timescales and other issues. So it's positive, and they've...
Michael Gove. I hope Michael Gove is doing the right thing here. I hope he has decided, yeah, I'm actually going to do the right thing. But, you know, this is Michael Gove we're talking about.
I had a phone call with them and spoke to them about the key points of this report. And again, they were warmed by that. So nothing will ever bring Awab back. But them seeing that changes are taking place gives them a bit of confidence that no other family has to go through the pain that they have.
And we're hearing from the Levelling Up Secretary, he's saying no more money for this organisation to build new houses until they can prove that they've improved on their behaviour when it comes to fixing problems, and also, you know, depending on who they're talking to, dealing with people differently, which is totally and utterly unacceptable. Is that something that the family support, that no more money should be given to organisations like this? Or do they think more houses do need to be built in order to try and get rid of this sort of issue that's claimed the life of their son?
In truth, for the family, the politics is less of their concern. For them, it's just that no other family can be put in this situation. And they would say whatever needs to be done to ensure that is the steps that need to take place.
And we get back to the previous point about housing. Like, if there's a shortage, you know, if there's a lack of supply, then landlords like this can get away with murder. They can allow, you know, or housing associations can get away with murder because they can say, well, this is all that's available, and especially if it's council, if it's been provided to the council, there's very little incentive for these companies to invest in fixing these problems.
But we have to appreciate there's a precedence of not particularly much trust towards RBH, because, for example, it was the fact that, you know, we had to call for there to be a change in their leadership. That didn't come naturally. The fact that actually, as the report makes clear, and perhaps one of the most worrying parts of the report, Rochdale Bro-Wide Housing themselves did a survey of all of their properties, and actually when the survey was then done again in 2022, that uncovered so many more instances of damp than RBH had spotted themselves, which begs the question, well, actually, can we really trust RBH to properly get to the bottom of this?
Unfortunately, the cost related to fixing these problems, in many cases you have to replaster off walls and replaster the walls because the mould filters through. Goes right into the bricks in some cases. So this is really expensive to fix, and these companies don't want to spend money. And also the council, if the council are involved or are responsible because of budget cuts, what do? They send somebody round to, you know, rub some bleach on the wall. It gets rid of it for a while, but if there are ventilation problems, if there are issues with dampness. In some cases, I've seen it on social media, horrific images where people had, you know, raw sewage coming in from the roof above. The water leaks, which, you know, you can't get rid of that. Like that, you can get rid of the mold and it'll be back in a few days' time. Water, and I've covered it before. With there was a woman who literally had water on her floor that was seeped into the floorboards, into the carpets, everything. And she and her children had to live in one room because they couldn't breathe the air in the rest of the apartment. Guys, we're almost at the end of the whoops, just a moment. What am I doing? Apologies. Okay, here we go. Just a final story for today. Stop the Boats is a last-ditched effort to revive a flagging culture war. Here we have Rishi and Suella. Deliberately stoking division. The illegal migrations bill is a theatrical, cruel policy designed to crumble under any kind of legal scrutiny. Its purpose is not to be functional or effective, but to give the impression of a government that gets things done. And I've been saying this for some time. The policy is not about dealing with the backlog, dealing with numbers crossing the channel. It's about pretending to. The legacy of Brexit is the demonisation of due process and international law, as long as the Conservatives present the British people as a monolith entirely behind their every strategy. Yeah, and this is something you've heard a lot. The British people support us as a monolith, yes. Anyone who points out their flaws or inconsistencies can be smeared as a mythical fifth column. After opposition MPs voted against the law at the second reading, the job was done. Suella Braverman could now claim that Labour wants open borders and unlimited migration, whether true or not. Hint, it's not. But the facts aren't important when the aim is to misrepresent opposition to a harmfully inadequate bill as opposition of any kind of border control. Suella Braverman's trip to the proposed Rwanda deportation camp was a cynical piece of government PR. The Home Secretary invited only right-wing press to accompany her on the trip, barring journalists from The Guardian, The Mirror, The Independent and even the BBC from attending. Photographs of Braverman beaming in front of the Biswila Riverside Estate building project in Kigali gave the distinct impression that this is accommodation the British government is having built to house deported refugees. The Telegraph's opening statement in their article on the subject was, Suella Braverman is so impressed by the decor of the Rwanda homes being built for immigrants deported from the UK that she joked she wanted the name of the interior designer. The fact that this is a real estate building project already under construction to provide affordable housing to Rwandan citizens was with no official figures released regarding its arrangements with the British government. Yes, one of the stories was that this is the housing that she appeared laughing in front of was actually already in construction before she arrived. Well, it was planned for something else, and she presented it as, yes, they're doing it for us. Gareth, thanks so much for that super chat. Remember the PPE fraud? Well, this happens all the time. Contracts are dished out to anyone from political allies to criminals who provide substandard services and will get and when it all goes wrong, poof, gone. Yes, we saw it with PPE and we see it all the time. Donate to the Conservative Party and win a contract. Doesn't matter whether you can actually fulfill the requirements of that contract. You have your money and then you're gone, and then we move on to the next fraud or scam. Max's streams are just a bit of more than just fun. They're a vision of a better world began, where UBI raids and dreams take flight, and everyone can shine in their own right. Said UBI. Great article. Thanks for finding it and sharing it. It's from Yorkshire Byline. Do check out Yorkshire Byline. It's a really good art newspaper online. They have very interesting stories, and they cover a lot of things. Generally things that are not covered by the mainstream press, unfortunately. So guys, we're almost at the end of the stream. I want to say thank you so much, and thank you so much, No DLC, for that super chat. I want to say thank you to everyone who came on tonight. Thanks for your support. Thanks for the super chats. UBI, Universal Basic Income. Of course, I'm a huge supporter of that, and it provides it would provide massive support for people during the cost of living crisis. It would undo a lot of the damage of the cost of living crisis, providing people with a guaranteed income, where they would be. It would take away the sword of Damocles that is right over many people's heads at the moment, to pay the rent or pay the bills, to feed their families. This would be a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. But there are some parts of the world that are rolling it out, at least the trial pilot projects. But I really hope that some of the main parties adopt it as a policy. There was a vote, I think, taking place, a separate issue, a vote taking place in the Irish Parliament at the moment, or tonight. I haven't been able to see it. Is about the eviction ban. I don't know if it has been overturned or what. So do check that out if you're in Ireland. So guys, once again, thanks so much for the super chat. Thanks for your support. Thanks for smashing the like button. I'll see you on Friday, same bat time, same bat channel. And have a good week. But before we go, of course, we have our one for the road, an old one, but still valid for this week.
John, thanks for dialing in. No problem. What's this about? Well, you know we appreciate your work at the company. You're one of our top earners. Thanks. But we've been hearing some worrying rumours about how you spend your time. Really? What rumours? Well, I don't quite know how to put this, but some people are saying that you're an MP. What? I know, it's ridiculous, obviously. You work so hard for us. I mean, the idea that you could also be moonlighting as a public representative is laughable. Well, I mean, I have to say, you're taking this rather well. I do just have to formally ask the question, though. Are you an MP? Yes. Of course you aren't. Sorry, did you say yes? Yes, I'm an MP. Really? Yes. Where for? Somewhere down south, I forget. Was this on your CV? Haven't you noticed I'm never around for Wednesday lunchtimes? I just assumed you had some sort of regular appointment. I do, with Prime Minister's questions. Gosh. I've asked several questions promoting our products. Really? Oh, that was nice of you. I thought that's why you employed me in the first place. I mean, God, no, that would be improper, wouldn't it? Is that what you think of us? That we deliberately employ an MP just to get some sort of unfair advantage? Well, I'm disappointed in you, John. So when do you do your MP work? I just fit it around the job where I can, or I get my wife to do it. Do your constituents not care? I don't think they know. And besides, what are they going to do? They could vote for someone else. I'm in a safe seat. You've got it all worked out, haven't you? So how much do you get paid for this second job? Well, that's the thing, just $82,000 a year plus expenses. Oh, fair enough, I can see why you need us then. I don't think that's even minimum wage, is it? Indeed. The issue is, we recently had to let Dave in the warehouse go because we found out he was also working as a minicab driver. So this is a bit awkward. I could offer you a tour of the Palace of Westminster. Are you bribing me? To be fair, I thought you were bribing me. Fair point. Should we set a date? How about Wednesday? I don't want to have to make a special trip.
Oh my goodness. So apt for today. So guys, have a great week. I'll see you on Friday, same bat time, same bat channel. And as always, stay safe. Take care. Good night.